Alright, so I'm just setting up for game one with my Bretonians, warm-up game one, that is. I already know who my opponent's going to be, so let's just find him very quickly here. His name is Hilo. Oh, that's not going to work. And he's playing a High Elf team at 1/170. Okay, that's a bit higher than me. I'm going to get some pretty good inducements from that. So we got a block dodge blitzer, that's normal, leader on a thrower. I wouldn't go for that myself, but that looks interesting and like a good idea. A catcher who's out, that's going to help me a little bit. And another catcher who has dodge already. A guard lineman, which is pretty damn solid, and a dodge lineman. This is going to be my opponent for this match. And quick look at statistics, he's played 3 games already. This is going to be his last warm-up match with 2 wins and 1 loss. I'm hoping to at least hold him to a draw. With this team, I think I'm going to be a little bit... Yeah, I think it'd be a bit too much to hope for a win, but we'll give it our best shot. 2 team rerolls, apothecary, 2 fan factor, no coach assistant, no cheerleader. So most kickoff events that will lead to a team reroll will probably come my way. Alright, that's going to be an interesting one. Let's see how it goes. Hello Blood Bowl fans. I've now played my first game in ReBBL. I have a little bit of interesting information now. So, I'm going to begin in a 14-team division in the league, based on the TV and experience. The playoffs at the end of the season are 32 coaches, which is a very big playoff. I'm quite impressed by that, with the division winners of every division being granted entry, plus the top 2 or 4 teams from the top divisions of each region. Thank you to Squiggy for actually giving me this information. I did play my first match against Hilo, who was a very good coach, very friendly. It was a nice introduction to the league. Here's Bad Bitches, High Elves, singing Bad to the Bone as their national anthem, of course. And my new team, the Real Welsh Dragons, well, they're actually an old team, a returning team, are of course singing Gwad, which is the Welsh national anthem, because, well, I'm going to play this Welsh thing as it is. We're just being Welsh in this team. I actually named all my pieces after Welsh names. Some people I actually know, and as for the peasants themselves, they're all Welsh names that I could think of off the top of my head. For any piece that dies, I will actually be thinking of more Welsh names, of course. The coin flip went my way, and I chose to receive. Let's double check. Yes, I chose to receive. This game was interesting, actually. It was an interesting introduction to the league, especially because I could see exactly the mentality of the coaches that are here. This league is very focused on teaching and learning from each other, and we spend a lot of the game actually talking strategy, as well as talking introductions, talking hello, and kind of pointing out the fact that I'm Welsh even though I don't really sound like it. Thanks for that, Hilo. That was a nice moment. He made a nice, solid formation in this opening. Not something I see very often when facing off against Elves. I usually see a more spread out formation, but it was a formation that was quite difficult to crack, actually. And my Bretonian formation is needing a bit of work, I think. I wasn't overly happy with the formation that I chose, but I didn't change it much in the game. I think in terms of receiving, actually, it was fine. I've got all my pieces where they need to be. Here comes the kickoff. And immediately, a rock is thrown, a High Elf is down. Not only is a High Elf down, a High Elf is dead. That's a really unfortunate start for Hilo. He does use his Apo, meaning that the dead player does come back, but she will be missing next game. I can't talk now. Let's get back into this. So, missed next game on one of her linemen, not such a big deal, but it is a leveled up lineman, so a bigger deal than is necessary. He was on game 4, which means that the team at the end of this match is going to be the team that he's taking into the league, because we can only have 4 warm-up matches. Because he set up in this central position that was very strong, I wanted to make sure that he stayed in this central position, so I closed off as much as I could with all of my pieces. I actually screwed it up though. I should have blitzed with this piece or this piece, but I didn't. I did focus on securing the ball though, and I only took the 3 blocks when I could have potentially taken 4. I could have actually blitzed one of these pieces, 2 when I think about it. 1 push which wasn't very good, 1 POW which just puts a player down, a high elf down, and lastly another POW against this guard piece that I kept forgetting was here. Megan Fox with guard is quite a funny thought. Pick of the select is successful, and Cledwin the star moves into a safer position. Because we're playing a warm-up match, the score itself doesn't actually matter. I am focused mostly on SPP, so the goal is going to be to try and get 2, ideally 3 touchdowns by the end of the match, so I can have at least 1 level up and 1 player in level up reach. Otherwise, 1 touchdown on 2 separate pieces, so we have 2 pieces that have 3 SPP and can get an MVP into first level. It is quite late now, and I am doing this right after the game, so it's fresh, so I'm sorry for my slightly bumbling speech in this game. I do this live in 1 take every single time, by the way. It's not scripted and it's not cut. So, High Elves weren't too successful with the punching. All my pieces are completely fine, and I can move into this flank here, making sure that I guarantee my first score. I'm going to try and make a half cage in the next turn if I can get at least 1 of these pieces down. Or I don't even need to get 1 of these pieces down necessarily. This wasn't exactly where I wanted to put the ball. We were talking at this point, I was slightly distracted, as you can see from the half die that I really didn't need to take as well. But I did recover from it, thankfully, and I did manage to get this piece out following that block, making it possible to protect the ball a little bit better than it was protected before. It's now quite difficult to get an elf through the gap, but before you could just run a piece around, no problem, take this piece out. I did take a block with the last peasant, because it wasn't necessary, and of course now that we've just seen that Geraint is injured, I'm really glad I didn't take that block. Not at all. Unfortunately, Geraint has a niggle. I'm not going to bother firing him, there's no point. I'll keep him for now until he's dead. Bryn also gets blocked, and also we get an armor break. Just a stun this time though, he'll be back up in a moment. Hylo was very good at keeping the pressure on with his elves. That was one thing that was really quite impressive actually. He wasn't one of these coaches who felt the need to move into or out of the fight, which is unusual. You usually find an elf coach does one or the other. They move too many pieces into the fight, or they move too many pieces out of the fight, and they just risk way too many rolls. Hylo, however, was very reserved. He kept his pieces in block formation all the time, most of the time, and it worked very successfully for him. It meant that he couldn't move around very much. That's the one thing I would say. That's the one thing I would say as a slight criticism. But otherwise, it was a very difficult team to break down. So overall, a very successful playstyle. And I'm sure that he plays very well when he's playing competitively. This wasn't really a competitive game, and in the first half we were both a little bit distracted, I think, because of the conversation. We had a pretty long introductory conversation, which is unusual when you're playing a game, I think, and it does drain on the concentration quite strongly as a result. But it also means that the two of us know each other a little better now, and that's very nice. I did go for a dodge here. I'm not sure I needed to. Oh, I see, it's to block off this side completely. Yeah, it makes it almost impossible for them to stop my score. I want to get at least the free SPP already. It's going to be a fast score, it's going to give them a chance to come back, but like I said, it's not about the result in this match. It's about getting as much SPP as possible. He did put a piece right in the middle, which gives me a free block here if something goes wrong. I'm not so sure about that move, but it works out well for him because he doesn't fail anything during his drive. He gets the catcher out of the way as well, that can just
block off the 2 pieces, though still, if I wanted to, I could have just taken a block on these 2 pieces if something goes wrong. He takes his 1 block and pushes my piece out of the way, which means that I'm not blocking anymore, because it won't be worth it. I left Dowie all on his own, which wasn't the best idea, but I did want to nurse the screen off so I could score as quickly as possible, like I said. So I do take a blitz because I may as well try and get some extra SPP, and it is a POW on a blitzer. If I can knock her out, they all have female names, so I'm going to keep calling on her. That would be great. So she's fine, and I take the first score. Bedouin, my great uncle, has put the first score for the Bretonians on the board. It's free SPP. 1 injured for the Elves, 1 injured for the Bretonians. 10-10 when we come back onto the pitch. Because I'm a piece down, I risked, I think, Caradog. Yep, I put Caradog on the line. He's going to get punched, but he's going to get punched by a blitzer, probably. But I had to put someone on the line. For some reason, I chose Caradog. All of the block pieces actually are going to be punching pieces, mostly. I think I explained it in the introductory video, but I can't remember. There are going to be 2 support pieces with a guard stand firm type build, and there's going to be a murder piece, which will actually be Caradog, I think. Oh no, Caradog's the kicker, sorry. Dowie is the murder piece. Where is he? Yes, this will be the murder piece, this will be the kick piece. And 1 kick. They will all also have strip ball, because they're all wrestle pieces, they're all going to be ball chasers and damages. That's the main purpose of the build. Hilo has put his entire team on the 1 flank, which would have been a problem, potentially, if there was a blitz, but no blitz came. He actually mentioned it in game as well, he was aware. That's a double skull as well, unfortunate there, but he rerolled it into something successful. If a blitz went wrong and the ball was over here, that's probably the 2nd score for me. Especially in a competitive setup, I would have maybe capitalized on the ball harder anyway, because the ball did land in a good place. But I wasn't too worried playing this game, the whole game actually. It was a very comfortable game. I do hope that I get to face Hilo competitively in the league itself, because that will be interesting to see if we play any differently. He has completely gone for this flank, and he's putting all of his pieces here, committing all of them. He really needs to be successful with the pickup, because otherwise it's going to be a problem for him. And unfortunately he's not, and he actually had to use the reroll for this double skull here, leaving his team pretty exposed, and gives me a good chance to at least get on the ball, if not get the ball itself. So, by putting all my pieces in this 1 area, what this is going to force him to do is bring all of his pieces back into the center, and he's going to have to bring most of these pieces round. He can leave a couple on their own if he really wants to, but it means that I'm going to be able to pick them off. Basically, I'm forcing him to commit his entire team back to the center so we can have a good scrap in the middle. Because I want to have a scrap, he doesn't really. I don't want to have a scrap too much, because obviously I'm not a bash team, but I much prefer a scrap than the Hiles. I put this piece out here just in case I do manage to get the ball next turn, because he has to roll a lot of dice or get quite lucky in... Not lucky, no, he doesn't need to get lucky. He needs to roll quite a lot of dice to get the pieces back in, or he needs to position himself very carefully to make sure that the ball is nice and secure. Yeah, when I look back at this, maybe putting Aaron there wasn't the best idea, because that was just a free block that I didn't really need to give. It's It locked up the ball, of course, and it locked up 2 players, but it also gave a very free block that could have led to an injury quite easily against Bretonians, because they only have armor 7 and 8, and my history of Bretonians has been a line of dead knights, mostly, and dead yeomen, for that matter as well. I was asked why I chose Bretonians, and I will explain it briefly. I think I explained it in the intro again. The Bretonian team is a team that was not picked very much in the league. Much the same reason why I picked it in the ICBBL, actually. I wanted to pick a team that I wasn't going to face too many mirror matches, because I'm not a big fan of mirror matches, to be fair. And I also wanted to have another go at Bretonians because I've been playing with them against the AI a bit, and I think I understand them a bit better now. Sorry, just to cut myself off. Yeah, I did choose to reroll here. I was considering it for a while, but I thought it was the best option to reroll, because it does, again, force him into this bit. It doesn't leave that gap there that it would have done if I didn't reroll that. The gap is going to be easy to make, but still. The only other options in the league were Chaos Dwarves or Kenry, because they were also short on numbers, but I think Bretonian had 2 teams, whereas Chaos Dwarf and Kenry both had 3, so I went for Bretonians as a result. Now, we've got the whole team nice and locked up here, and he's also got pieces that are basically stuck. They've got to dodge out, or they've got to come in order to do some blocking. And if they come in, then they risk taking blocks themselves. Hylo does manage to make a gap though. That's good enough to get the ball through. And some extra pieces. He can even cage up if he wants to here, if he is willing to dodge a bit. But he actually sends the catcher out way on his own, which was a bit surprising. And the guard piece, I believe, in support. Yeah. He was hoping that it would be difficult for me to get a block on him, and it was. He managed to dodge that piece out, making it quite difficult, but certainly not impossible. That last piece, though, that did make it hard. The only thing I could see was to knock out the blitzer, and this piece here could get around and do a block on his own. I sent in pieces in support, of course, but that was the overall goal, to get this piece onto the ball. That's why I take a block with the peasant here, and I leave the peasant where he is because he's going to stop these pieces from getting out easily. When I look at this now, I think me putting Keith here was a bad idea, because it makes it harder for Aaron to get around. It actually makes it almost impossible. So yeah, I take a blitz on the blitzer, whereas I would have preferred to actually have the blitz on the catcher itself. That was my last reroll. I had to reroll it, I think, because I needed that piece down. Couldn't deal with a push. It would have just been a free block. Keith goes down, not Keith, what's his name? Aaron goes down, and catcher runs right into the line, no problem. It's pretty much the same here. He took a long time agonizing over this decision as well. That was a pretty easy choice to me, getting high up to do the block and then straight run in. But he was going to just dodge out. And Hylo was just equalized. And Valentina Nappy has scored points, and if I remember rightly, that's actually leveled her up. We still have 1 injured on the Elf side, still have 1 injured on the peasant, on the Bretonian side. So we're still 10 men to 10 women. I was going to say 10 men apiece. At this point, he did get his players well out of range, so I couldn't do too much damage, which is fair, though the only problem I have with this strategy always is that if a riot comes, it's going to be quite easy for me to just run the line straight up and potentially score. I just have to make a gap and run straight through. I see a lot of coaches do this though, and I have actually been in situations where riots have happened and I've been able to score, and if they had set up normally, I wouldn't have been able to. Kick comes back, riot doesn't come, cheering fans happen, and both teams get an extra reroll. The High Elves have fan factor of 2, and we have a cheerleader, so the roll worked out equally. And first block was 2 skulls, which was a shame, but because I have wrestle, not such a big deal. Second block was more successful, and the third block was a power. I'm going to try for a pass, especially with that free reroll that I now have. Though I think I'm going to try blitz first. Yes, I am, with one of the blitzers, because I want to try and get as much SPP as possible. That's a POW, which is the best I can hope for, and that's a KO, which is fine. It's gonna... that puts him down to potentially 8 players. And now we'll try for the pass. That's a failed pickup, reroll. And that's Snake Eyes. If you're going to get Snake Eyes somewhere though, you may as well get Snake Eyes there, where it doesn't really make a difference. And now the High Elves have to run right up the pitch just to even get a blitz. If I hadn't have followed, actually, I think I would have been out of range. That's interesting. I didn't look at that hard. Half-time 1-1. Still 1 injured. One of the KOs comes back, leaving Hilo with 9 players. And my peasant still injured, leaving me with 10 players. We have the player advantage. So Hilo splits his team back into a more even distribution. Allowing a lot of elves to stay on the line. The riot comes, but it's a turn too late, so we lose a turn instead of gaining a turn. And this was an excellent kick, putting it right at the edge, making it very difficult for him to get the ball up and even giving me a chance to potentially score again. First block is just a push. Second block leads to a peasant KO, which evens the numbers on the field again. And a POW from Natalie Portman. I didn't even realize when I was playing that she was one of the options, but okay. And players going to make sure the ball is secured. He made a pretty good screen here actually. When I was playing the game itself, I wasn't too concerned, but when I look at it, he did a good job of screening. The one thing is that he did leave Sasha Grey here to just be picked off by my team, which I will do. Successful pass, which I always like to see. As many coaches who've played me or seen me play know, I am big on catching. I love throwing and catching, and I always love to see it even from pieces that do it naturally. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. So I'm glad we had at least one pass in this game. Hopefully it will be the first of many. I did decide, as soon as he put the piece there, that I was going to blitz that piece this turn. I knew that was exactly what I was going to do, but I wanted to screen off my own side of the pitch first to make sure that he couldn't get through easily. And I did make a point of leaving one piece completely unattached. And I moved him the wrong way. I should have put him over here because I've left a gap here. I've just realized I didn't notice that before. I actually did that a lot in this game. I kept leaving gaps. I wasn't doing so well with the overall positioning. Though I'm just at the moment trying to make him spread out the team a little bit. Or focus in the center, which he is doing, which is even better for me. Catcher dodges out, unfortunately. I did want to get another punch on him, but he has got out of the way. That's an unfortunate roll again, that re-rolls into just a push. I think ideally he wants that piece down, but it has made the gap quite a lot wider. The ball carry isn't going anywhere soon. I have chance to actually reform. Oh, I missed the dodge there. He's put all his pieces in the center again. And this is good in terms of keeping High Elves alive. The thing that is bad with is that I can simply surround this box and he can't move. And that's exactly what I do. And I kept playing this tactic against him. He kept trying to go to the middle, which is fine. And I kept coming on the edge, taking a block on an outside piece. And just basically making sure he couldn't move. And that's a catcher down, which is a shame. Thankfully badly hurt, so we will be back next turn. Next game, not next turn. I've left a gap again. It's not a bad gap actually. I wouldn't actually mind if he tried to go through this gap, because it means that I'd have a lot of pieces in reserve that could come and do some damage. Though he does stay in the center. We were quite open with each other in this game, and we were saying when we made mistakes, we were saying what we were thinking, especially at this point in the game. And it made for a very interesting playstyle, which I've not really had much experience on. The live stream is actually on my beam still. I will link it below. It will be there for 14 days from time of recording, if you do want to catch the game live. But the game live is considerably longer. It's almost 2 hours. As the turns here were 4 minutes long, which is a lot longer than I'm used to. And to be honest, it was quite exhausting. Though, as the main purpose of this league is to teach and to learn, it makes perfect sense, of course. I didn't do this turn well at all. I completely gave up my solid positioning, and I gave him a chance to actually run out if he wanted to. I was hoping to do a bit of damage, that was the point, but that failed, unfortunately. I get a push on the blitzer. I do manage to run Cledwin back into a space where it's going to be hard for him to get through the gap. And I take one more block, which is also a push. Not ideal. It actually saved me, I think, having those two pushes. I would have preferred pieces down, definitely, but there's just way too much space for him to get through here and here. If he picks a side, I'm going to struggle to stop him. I was quite lucky with the defending dice as well, though. He was just getting pushes too, so there was no real comeback to my mistake. He's punched a pretty good gap there, and he's made himself a cage. I meant to say cage in position, but it's going to be a cage. Sorry for the spoiler. And the one thing I was basically thinking in my next turn was whether to use a fireball or whether to use lightning. I spent almost 2 minutes making the decision, and I did eventually go for the lightning on the ball carrier because I wanted the catcher out. I did manage to stun her, but the ball landed in one of the worst places it could have possibly landed. And that was me using another reroll. I'm not sure it was necessary when I think about it. Why did I reroll that? I could have taken the block, maybe. Well, I did reroll it. I wasted the reroll for some reason. It is quite late here now, and it was quite late when I was playing. I've actually just finished this game, so I guess I wasn't thinking as clearly as I could be. I do go for the pickup, which is successful. That was a 5+, and I even pass, which isn't accurate, but it goes to the intended piece anyway, and that is just the perfect place for the ball to be right now. So that's our second pass of the match. It was a Bretonian one. The replay is very, very fast because you don't see the thinking time, but there was a lot of thinking in this game. It was really a brain stretcher, to be honest. The replay doesn't really do justice to the intensity of this match. That's an unfortunate roll, and that's a very unfortunate reroll that makes it very easy for me to get the ball out. Too easy, in fact, I can even get him completely out of range. The only piece that will be able to get to him is this piece, which I will lock up with the peasant. With no reroll, I don't GFI. If I did GFI, I would have actually been out of range completely, but I didn't. I just put the piece out of the way, and I brought the second piece in support. Then changed my mind and made sure they're right next to each other, so blocking was much more difficult. Take a block on a high elf, and a follow. I don't think I meant to follow that. I'm sure I didn't mean to follow. And that skull is really unfortunate, because that means that this piece can at least stand on the ball carrier. If I at least got a push, or if I put them both down, that would have been perfect, but skull was the one result I really didn't want. That was dodge, followed by a GFI and a 1 die that is successful with a reroll, and a knocked out knight, which is unfortunate. If I had 2, good chance I'm getting the ball. With 1, it means that he can lock up this piece, and I'm going to really struggle to get him out. And that's exactly what he does, of course. Just a push on this piece. Not such a necessary roll. Maybe could have taken level 1 first. It was to get this piece out, I see. Oh yeah, I remember. He wanted this piece to be the receiver. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, because the receiver is now KO'd. We were talking about the best way to do it. I was trying to give him my pointers as well. It was very much a match of that. We were talking about the best way to play. So if you are interested in a little anything, actually, it may be worth watching the actual live feed on Beam, because we were talking strategy a lot. I put the peasant here to make it harder to make a long pass, and also to force him to position around instead. And the 4+, 3+, unfortunately failed on the first dice. That's a handoff from an elf to an elf, which is pretty straightforward play, and a good passing position that is dodgy, but it was his best option, and unfortunately the pass fails. That gives me 1 chance, and 1 chance only to score, and that is to pass with this blitzer to this blitzer. I see. I actually made a mistake, because I punched with the blitzer, though the dice are the same, to be fair. I fail the dodge anyway, and knight is KO'd on the very last turn, but he does survive, and that's game over. Thank you, Hilo. This was a very fun game and a nice introduction to the league. I look forward to continuing and starting off the actual competitive side of it. At the end of the match, we had 1 touchdown, 1 pass, and 5 armor breaks from the Elves, 1 touchdown and 5 armor breaks from the Bretonians. Clydwin got man of the match, which actually gave him a level up. I have already rolled that level up. I was just going to put the live feed up, but I changed my mind. So Clydwin has now got dodge, as well as block, catch, and dauntless. Mel Clark didn't level up from the game, but he did have a couple of level ups, I think. This piece that scored. Valentina Nappi, I think, did level up. Gwilym also got 2, which is helpful. Got 2 blitzers with all the SPP. We were both trying to farm SPP a little bit in the game, but we played competitively in the end, instead of playing for the SPP, which meant that SPP was few and far between. So, the team as it stands is on 0-1-0, of course. Clydwin is my 1 level up. Gwilym also has 2 SPP, and I have Geraint the lineman out for next match, meaning that I will have a learner. I did spend the gold that I won on an apothecary, so I at least have that for next game. When I look back at it, I'm not sure apothecary was the best choice, but well, we'll deal with it for now. At least it's going to keep my knights and yeomen alive, hopefully. Just to have a look at Hylo very quickly, because he might well be one of our competitors in the main league. His team is now finished. They've played their 4 teams. They sit at 1230 team value, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leveled up pieces. 1 lineman out for the next match. It's just a dodge piece. I don't think he'll miss that piece too much. Alona is almost... It's not as good, of course, but Alona can definitely fill that gap. And because he has the guard piece, a lot of dodge, and this leader, which he explained, and it was very interesting actually. It's a way of keeping the main team value down because he doesn't have to spend on team rerolls. It makes perfect sense. I applaud that decision actually, and even though it's not an obvious one to me, it's something that makes perfect sense when it's explained. And having a look at his stats, he's gone 2-1-1, so I did manage to slow down his win record, so sorry about that, but it was a fun game, and I think the score represented the play, and neither of us had particularly bad luck. So thank you for the introduction to the league. I look forward to playing with you guys, and I look forward to seeing how the league develops, and we're going to have lots of games apparently with 14 teams per division. Thank you for the invite, Squiggy, and we'll see each other on the pitch soon, I hope. Thanks for watching, guys. May enough will smile on you all. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.